Hi everyone, welcome back to MGS Coaching Football, and thank you for watching my channel because I always appreciate it. So today, this is my introductory video from my game planning playlist. Frequently, I get asked, so how do you game plan? What do you look for? All those types of things. So I'm going to give you essentially what's the foundation of the approach that we take when it comes to game planning. And I also think that you can employ this in all facets of life. So I'm going to go through it little by little. I'm going to give you both, anecdotal evidence as well as some scientific observation, if you will, to support why I think this works. Okay? So P.P.A, right? We all know what P.P.E is. P.P.A stands for Prepare, Plan, and Adapt. Okay? And it's the game planning philosophy that I've used for the better part of 42 years, going on 43. It's adaptable in its own right. It does take advantage of the technology that's available to all of us now. But at the end of the day, you can have all of that technology. You can have an army of coaches, but I think if you don't have a foundation from which to work from, you might find that you're spinning your wheels and you're missing some key things. Okay? So, specifically, this is defensive football game planning. I mean, you can use it for offense and special teams, of course. And this is geared most likely more towards a small and a moderate size staff. I mean, programs that have, three quality assistants on each side of the ball and on special teams and right people off the field taking care of the recruiting for them and visits. And I mean, this may or may not apply to them, but that's not most of us. Okay? So I've always looked at P.P.A. It's the approach. It's the way we're going to do it. So the first P means prepare, and prepare means it's for what you know. Right? So this is what you're going to have to defend. So that you prepare for that. Okay, now some of this you might be going, well, no kidding, coach. As I go through this, it might become a little bit more obvious as to why this needs to be the foundation of what you do. The second P is the plan, and that's for what's possible. Okay, so you prepare for what you know, you plan for what is possible. So that's one of those, well, I don't know if they're going to do this. They've done it, before. They have the ability to run the jet. I've seen them run the jet, but they don't seem to do it a lot, make a living off of it. That would be part of the planning phase because it's possible, right? And then the A stands for adapt, and that's for the unexpected. I mean, you honestly can't prepare for everything. And as we get to the bottom and the end, so to speak, of this presentation, I'll highlight that some more. So now I'm going to break down each of the letters. P for prepare, P for plan, A for adapt, and start to bring in a little bit of anecdotal evidence as well as some scientific observation. Things that I've seen, usually technology related. So now, Roman numeral 1, prepare. When you prepare, it's based on what you know, right? So that's where your scouting report breakdown comes in. So hopefully you have a scouting report breakdown before you even begin this part, right? Preparing for what you know. Because from what you know usually stems from your scouting report breakdown. Okay? So a scouting report breakdown for us starts with the personnel groupings and then who are the best players in each grouping. So, teams usually come out, they're 11 personnel, right? Or they're a two-back team, or they're a four wide receivers offense 99% of the time, okay? So, well, that's your starting point. And see, again, it comes under prepare because that's what you know. And then the formation tendencies within those groupings, both run and pass, right? That's when you start to know, okay, well, this is their run. They're a zone-based run team. Or they're more of a gap-based schemed run team. Okay, it's unusual to find a team that's about 50-50 zone and gap scheme. Okay, but you might. Well, you'll know all that based on your scouting report breakdown. Okay, and of course now with huddle assist and everything, it's a little bit easier. You'll get your down and distance tendencies by the personnel groupings and the formations. Okay, so again, you can prepare for what you know. And then the known are the aspects of your opponent's offense that, okay, they're an 11 team. They like to run 2-by-2 formations with a tight end on the line. Or they like to run 2-by-2 formations with a tight end or an H-back off the line. Right? And we've had occasions where when the inline tight end's in the game, 11 personnel, number 14 comes in. That's 11T, 11 tight end. For us, a tight end's hand is down. And then that same team, 11 personnel, the H-back's in the game, number 44, that's an 11H. Right? Again, this is what we know about the opponent's offense. And in order to defend what you know, that's why this is the first P. Okay? The first P. So again, for me, if you don't do this, it's so easy to spiral out of control for something that you saw, oh my God, we got to stop that one play. And meanwhile, you miss all these important items of what their base offense is. Okay? So that takes care of the first P. All the things we know, you got to prepare to defend those. So the first P, the things that you know, lead into the second P plan, and that is, as it says here, the extra game breaks so you can find the rare but things that they use, including high school information sometimes. Okay, so unless it's the first game of the year or unless it's the first time you played a team, you might only have one tape. So then the planning part is very limited. Okay? And I'll talk about that more when I get to the adapt. So the other aspect of it is what's involved in rare but things that are used. Well, how about trick plays? Personnel tips like the one I just shared with you. You know, the one tight end's in the game, you can expect them to be an inline tight end. The other person's in the game, you can expect them to be an H-back. When they move number 17 to the X receiver, you can expect a double pass because they did it twice before. And they rarely have number 17 as the X. You see what I'm trying to say? So that's the stuff you plan for. It's possible. Okay? Personnel tips, like I just talked about. Inline tight end, H-back, a player's background. So-and-so, number 17, was a high school quarterback. Could throw the heck out of the ball. So if he's at the X, I would anticipate a double pass. It's possible. So you plan for that, okay? You don't use up a whole bunch of practice time for it, but you plan for it so your players know. Okay? And, an example of overwhelming tendencies, if a team, as an example on P and 10, possession and 10, first play of a drive, has turned out to be 98% run, then I'd be alert for play action or an RPO. Okay, unless it's a team that's just absolutely steamrolling everybody and saying, we dare you to stop us. Okay? Because let's just say they're 98% run, but a lot of the times they're only picking up 2 or 3 yards. Right? And they've shown that a couple of times they're not 100%. When teams creeped up, that's when the quarterback pulled it out and threw a play action pass. That would be another example. So overwhelming tendencies lead to possibilities. Okay? And last and certainly not least, the adapt part. And what's involved there is you've got to have components of your base system that should be flexible enough to cover most surprises. Right? Because honestly, you can't prepare for everything. There isn't enough time. And they don't make call sheets big enough. Okay? So it all really starts with developing your base system to be flexible. Okay? Because letter A, You cannot, I repeat, you cannot prepare or plan for everything, and don't even try to. Right? Exclamation point, exclamation point. I have had coaches over the years that want to do it. It doesn't work. And it ends up not working out. Okay? So please don't be the coach that's trying to stop everything. You can't do it. An example of adapting, they come out in an unbalanced site, something they've never done. If you have a base unbalanced plan that's part of your system, you're good to go. Us was check Utah. You're working in preseason, you're working in the spring at the college level. Some high schools you're working in the spring. You work it against teams that you've seen it. But at the end of the day, you've worked it enough, so if a team shows unbalanced, your kids recognize it, so they check Utah, and you're good to go. That's an AFC automatic front and cover, overrides everything. You're lined up right, you're not outflanked, you can play football. And then from there, if they're going to make a living out of it for that game, you make some adjustments. You cowboy off the nub side, right? You bring some pressure from the unbalanced side because somebody there's an ineligible receiver. If you've taught you guys correctly, they recognize nub side. You have an eligible receiver number, you have an ineligible receiver number, which makes life even easier. You see what I'm saying? So when you talk about rare things used, like high school information, sometimes that can help you in the adapt phase. Right? If there's an injury in the other team, and all of a sudden, the quarterback who's in the two deep, not the guy in the game, but it's that same number 17, well, you knew he was a high school quarterback, so you should be ready for that. And then as the game goes up, unfolds, you can see, oh, well, he's not very good at the outlet. His arm isn't as strong as we thought, so you can adjust and adapt accordingly. Right? So a lot of that is anecdotal evidence for sure. Right? So the scientific part of it is usually in the prepare. That's where your analytics come in. I mean, that's observation done for us through whatever app program you're using, whether it's Huddle or otherwise, because there's so many of them out there now. That's based on scientific, observation from the computer. It spits it out for you in a spreadsheet. The rest of it, you got to use what your eyes are telling you. And you got to use your own experience and together be able to adapt, adjust, and overcome. Okay? So in this particular game planning playlist, this is where it all begins. P.P.A. Prepare, plan, and adapt. Any questions, please, as it says up there, reach out to me at CoachMJSullivan@gmail.com because I'd love to talk football with you.